Hello, welcome back. This is Force 13 Live. It's 3:01 on the US East Coast. It's 8:01 here in the UK. My name's Nathan Foy. I'm joined by the Skype team for the 48th hour of coverage for Hurricane Matthew, and all of them, every hour becoming more important than the last, it seems. I believe David has joined us.
Yes, good to be here, even if it's only going to be for a few minutes. And I'm over here on the east coast of Australia, and in the studio we have the host of our climate show, Lee Barrett, up there in Scotland. And Nathan, it's good to be here, as I just said.
Indeed, and what's your thoughts on Matthew right now?
Well, there's still a lot of uncertainty with Matthew. Very concerned, as I posted to contact last night for those in its path, especially the East Coast, Florida region of the United States. One has to be really prepared, have an emergency kit. If time hasn't beaten them, a small transistor radio that you'll probably listen into the local radio station, have a first aid kit, a change of clothes, some drinking water, but overall it's just a wait and see what Matthew's going to do.
All right, and David is generally accepted to be our newsman, the guy who always monitors the wires. Do we have any news out of Haiti or Cuba at all?
I'm just checking.
We'll check back with you on that. First of all, yep. I'll give you a few moments. But let's read out the latest warnings then, for those who may be just joining us. The storm Matthew has 120 mile an hour winds. A hurricane warning is in effect for the Cuban provinces of Guantanamo, Santiago de Cuba, Holguin, Granma and Las Tunas, the Bahamas, all of them, and north of Golden Beach to the Flagler-Volusia County line in Florida and Lake Okeechobee. A hurricane watch is in effect for the Cuban province of Camagüey and north of the Flagler-Volusia County line to Fernandina Beach, which is right on the Georgia border. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Haiti, Chokoloskee to Golden Beach, Florida Keys from 7 Mile Bridge eastward, and Florida Bay. Interests elsewhere in the Florida Peninsula and the Florida Keys should monitor the progress of Matthew. What's that?
I do apologise about that. That was a wee alarm clock I've got.
Yeah, and just like Strat to click on the US rainfall potential chart up there as well to show everyone what rainfall is expected from the National Hurricane Center at the moment. For the Bahamas, it's 8 to 12 inches, isolated amounts up to 15. And for coastal east central Florida, to expect 4 to 7 inches up to 10, and the Florida Keys 1 to 3 inches up to 5. As for storm surge, the Bahamas 10 to 15 feet. And for North Palm Beach to the Flagler-Volusia County line, expecting 3 to 5 feet if it does it at high tide. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more questions during this hour, as we have had in the last hour. And that one creeper plays says, "Is Nicole really drunk? It has the weirdest path." Well, I don't think a hurricane has a capacity to be drunk, but that's what it would be if it was a human, according to Strat. But Nicole is lost, perhaps. But it is under the influence of Matthew, actually. It doesn't know where it's going.
Yes, I'll support that.
And it will be stalling for a long time, I think. Are you sure it's like that, Strat? Ooh, goodness me. He's made a mess of it. David, go ahead.
Void is reporting everyone in our state must prepare now for direct hit, and that is from the Florida state governor.
Yes, that's right. And yes, go ahead.
Nathan, what are our thoughts on ECMWF 7-day forecasts track.
What was that?
Or model. What
ECMW.
ECMWF 7-day model.
Strat's
Have you
going
had a
right
chance
to it
look at
now.
it?
He's going to look on all our behalf. So let's see what it says. This is one model run only. Take it with a pinch of salt, especially beyond 2 days. And the models keep flipping about as well.
Nathan, just recapping on the floodwater, the rainfall along the eastern coast. What was the figure you gave?
Oh goodness, I've forgotten now. For the east coast of Florida, rainfall is predicted to be up to, I think they said 12 inches. Maybe that's a bit...
So
no, that's the Bahamas. That's the Bahamas. For Florida, 7 inches.
Okay, just cited rain totals could reach more than 1 foot plus along coastal areas to the southeast from Hurricane Matthew. So,
well, it could be isolated amounts of amounts up to 10 inches, which is nearly a foot, I believe. And a lot of people still saying whether Nicole is controlling Matthew. No, it's the opposite. Matthew is controlling Nicole. That's why Nicole is stalling and Matthew's moving northwest. Otherwise, Nicole will be heading west and Matthew will be stalling or moving south. Matthew himself is being controlled by the trough that's leaving the US East Coast, which has dragged it up from the Caribbean, and what we could see now is a high pressure building in, which will force it west towards Florida, and with the models are suggesting increasingly that it will loop round towards the east, then south, or even southwest, thanks to that high. That is what's influencing Matthew.
It's been reported just on the Twitter that Matthew could hit Florida twice.
Well, that's it. That's not by. I mean, gee, we don't even know whether it's going to hit Florida once yet.
It's true.
But there is that small possibility in the long term. But you know, it's so uncertain at this time of year, and the models are just saying all sorts of things. They're crazy.
And news out of the Bahamas, one person has reported power is out, internet out, so telecommunications is out.
Where's that?
However, in the Bahamas, power is out.
It's going to get a lot worse.
No internet, yep. And this particular person is on satellite communications for the time being.
Do we know which island?
No. And FEMA take evacuation orders from local officials seriously. Check with your local emergency management office if you're unsure where to go. So that is one advisory put out by FEMA.
And in an hour, nearly 2 hours, we'll get the latest from the National Hurricane Center. They'll be updating with their latest track, and it'll be something interesting to take a look at, because it could be changing again. But for Florida, it's still pretty likely, almost certain now, that they'll receive at least tropical storm conditions and probably hurricane conditions.
And CNN, they just put out a posting about an hour ago. Can you see it? This spooky satellite image of how Hurricane Matthew looking like a smiling skull lit up the internet.
Well, the international, I'm guessing that's the International Space Station imagery that we were broadcasting last night.
Yes, I managed to see that. See the ISS flying over. Oh no, Matthew was later. It was that other one. that Jason's been working on.
Yeah, we were live when it was broadcast. In fact, at the very end of our live event last night, we put it out there indeed. Well, if you've got any questions for us, we'll do our best to reply. And lots of comments flowing through. Could Matthew turn towards Bermuda or south of the Keys? Or is this track confirmed? No track is confirmed, is the truth of it all. It could go towards Bermuda, a very outside chance. And again, you can see the latest models now, look at that. Yeah, and he's highlighted the CMC's solution is that the storm would loop but in an entirely different location. That could be an interesting one.
And talking about models, just another posting, UO model rolling in and similar to the GFS model for Matthew. Look for NHC to nudge forecast track even closer to Florida at 4 p.m.
Wi-Fi Pack says, will there still be school on Friday? I live in Tampa on the western side of Florida. I'm not sure on that one, but we do have people on the team in Florida who might be able to better answer your question. But my inkling would be that perhaps they may be closed, especially if the storm continues to track west.
And Nathan, the UK Met is slightly in alignment with the GFS in the loop scenario.
And let's see, is Matthew going to hit New York? Well, not a single model is predicting that, so good luck.
But
I think a New York hit is very unlikely at this point. So.
And Nathan, one weather outlets posted the number of major Atlantic hurricanes has been increasing since 1970. Would you support that?
What was that?
The number of hurricanes in the Atlantic has been increasing since 1970.
Yeah, it depends where you start and end your trend points, you know, because the amount of hurricanes and tropical storms has decreased substantially since last decade. But we've had an active period from 1995 to 2012, and since then it's been quieter, and I'm sure everyone's noticed. Let's not forget that this is nearly 11 years since Florida was last hit by a major hurricane, a landfall. Not to say that this will be a major hurricane landfall, but it's looking more likely. And that is the longest drought since the 1830s. And if you count all of the US possessions, including all the islands that they own across the world, it's been just over 10 years since the last Category 3 storm made landfall or higher, and that was Hurricane Ioki on Johnston Atoll in 2006. And that is the longest drought for all US possessions since the 1780s, when the US didn't even have a president. So it's an extremely lengthy drought for US landfalls. So you can take stats one way or another. Really, there's lots of things you can do with numbers. Activity doesn't always mean problems for everyone.
And unfortunately, the problems remain clearly in motion for those in Matthew's path, the aftermath. And National Weather Service down there in Topeka has just posted, yes, it's October, but the threat for severe weather continues. Severe storms possible again Thursday. And that was posting by the National Weather Service in the Topeka.
All right. Let's see if there's any late news on the storm itself. I'm just going to see if there's any new satellite imagery. You can see on the latest frames there, the eye is still very much there. It's behind that huge burst of convection around the storm, and you can see Long Island, not the Long Island you might be familiar with, but Long Island, Bahamas, is in serious trouble right now underneath that big flare-up in the northern side of the storm. And you can just about see the tip of the Florida coast on the far top left-hand side of your screen, and the keys there, and the storm slowly getting closer.
And talking about Florida, American Airlines has cancelled all flights into South Florida Thursday. They will refund customers with no fee. So, and it's WPEC CBS 12. I think that's South Florida channel. American Airlines cancels all flights into South Florida Thursday, and for those those who have a ticket, get in contact with the airline, and a refund will be given.
Oh, thanks for that news.
And no extra costs.
Flights cancelled into Southern
Wi-Fi Pack
Florida.
says, do you think this storm will reach Category 5 again? Well, Adam seems to think so. But it's too early to say.
It's a bit early to say, but it has got a window to do so.
It's got a room to intensify, but you know, it could get to it will likely get to Category 4 whilst it's over the Bahamas. Yeah. It's going to be a miserable 2 days for the Bahamas, including at its capital, Nassau, where there could be some serious issues. And then for Florida, it could be a Category 4 on approach, and who knows what will happen from there on in.
Posting from South Carolina Emergency Management Division, posting, do not drive around barricades along Matthews evacuation routes. You will encounter ongoing traffic head-on. So the South Carolina Emergency Management Division have put out, do not drive around barricades along Matthews evacuation routes. You will encounter head-on traffic.
Okay, so there's the latest, and as I've said, David the newsman over there will be giving us the latest. And if you've got any questions for us, we'll duly oblige and respond. But as Stephen said just now, Matthew is intensifying, he says, and I'd agree with that, looking at it, and something to look for as time goes on here. 3:19 on the East Coast, and we'll be joined by more people in the US later today, I believe. The usual suspects. Hank Strat will return, and I believe Tropical Storm Nuke will be with us. That's his name apparently. He's in Florida, he's in Orlando, so we might get some news from him later on. And I know that Max is over near Tampa somewhere, so if we could get a hold of him, maybe he could tell us some news about what's going on over there on the West Coast. But let's
we'll
see.
also have Craig soon as well.
Oh yes. And he'll be able to tell us a lot about what it's doing right now. Matthew Clayton says, it seems to me that Nicole will impact a westward turn once it leaves Florida. I think they mean Matthew. I don't know. I live in the southern Outer Banks. Can you explain why you think it will turn before it hits North Carolina? Matthew, yes. Well, the reason is the models are anticipating a high pressure ridge to build in north of the storm, and it will have nowhere to go. Obviously, think of it like a magnet. The low pressure, which is a storm, is repelled by the high pressure to its north, and it will force it away another direction. And it will, according to some of the models, it says that it will turn to the south and then southwest and west, and give Florida perhaps two things to worry about in one storm. So that is a potential scenario. Or another scenario is that the high pressure will build and it will push the storm further east beyond Bermuda and the like, out to sea, or that the high pressure will set up in a different place and it will allow the storm to move up the east coast, which is now the least likely scenario, it would seem, from what we're looking at. I don't know what the people in this room would think of that, whether they agree.
Well, those highs, the ridging, and what is it, the upper level lows, it's been so hard to read, and anything's possible.
Yeah, it's a really strange one. You know, the more these models progress, every single new run they're saying that it's going to curl more and more. Less models are saying it will move out to sea. I'd say it's still a 50-50 split on whether the storm will loop around or whether it will go for the Outer Banks and beyond. So, you know, everyone will be watching this.
And picking up on your point about the comment about watching this, Matthew is now being reported via over here in Australia. The TV networks are now running with it.
Indeed, that's right. So, let me remind everyone of the latest. The hurricane warnings in effect for the Cuban provinces of Guantanamo, Santiago de Cuba, Holguin, Granma and Las Tunas, the southeastern Bahamas and the rest of the Bahamas as well, north of Golden Beach to the Flagler-Volusia County line in Florida and Lake Okeechobee. A hurricane watch is in effect for the Cuban province of Camagüey and north of the Flagler-Volusia County line to Fernandina Beach, which is right next to the Georgia border. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Haiti, Chokoloskee to Golden Beach, Florida Keys from 7 Mile Bridge eastward, and Florida Bay. Rainfall amounts could reach 10 inches in Florida, and a storm surge could reach 5 feet if it happens at high tide. As for the Bahamas, the storm surge is expected to be 10 to 15 feet. And as David says, electricity's out. I suppose it's not over the whole country that the electricity's out, but those southern islands probably, David.
I've got no updated information on that.
I'd imagine that's the case.
But I'd say it would be widespread.
Okay, is it going to hit central Florida? There's a question there. Quite possibly, probably. Probably it will. Chatham County, Georgia, Savannah issues recommended evacuation. Have you got any news of that, David?
Just
we're hearing from one of the commenters. And just to relay everything else again, the inland warnings, and I'll just reveal it city by city. And just another note here. The special marine warning remains in effect off the coast of St. Augustine and just south of Jacksonville. Offshore, there are some thunderstorms developing and moving southwest into Florida. Tropical storm watch for Gainesville and Ocala. Hurricane watch for Jacksonville. Hurricane warning for Daytona Beach, extending all the way south, including Sanford, Orlando, Titusville, Melbourne, Palm Bay, Vero Beach, Fort Pierce, Stewart, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and that's it. Tropical storm warning for Leesburg and Sebring inland. Further south, it's a tropical storm warning for Miami and Homestead, for Key Largo and Marathon. Everglades City and Naples are just outside the warning area, and they could get into a warning soon. But looking at radar, the area off Miami and that sort of area in the southeast of Florida is still looking pretty quiet and probably will for a little bit longer. And of course, there's a high risk of rip currents today and tonight and beyond.
Okay, Nathan, I've got to depart the studio. I really don't want to, but
Yeah, I
I'll be
understand.
back hopefully in about 5 hours. So to the viewers, stay tuned. You're in good hands. There are plenty of other team members that will continue to bring the content. As soon as I get back, I'll be looking at the Walding news coverage from the entire region has been impacted on, and Nathan, for some of the locals over there in the Haiti region,
Oh yeah.
entire crops have been smashed, and now their revenues, the income source has been wiped out. So I'll pick up on that when I come
Yeah,
back.
I'll talk to you
So
about
for
it.
now, it's been good over the last 40 minutes.
Thank you, David. And we'll see him
Later,
again
David.
later. We're staying here, of course. We're staying put. We'll be streaming until midnight on the East Coast tonight, as we did yesterday, and we'll be giving you the latest updates on the storm. And the current time, 3:27 on the East Coast right now. And
Ourselves for the moment.
here in the UK, nearly 8:30. And you can see the storm. Long Island on the Bahamas is in trouble, it would appear. The northern flare-up, it really is flaring up as well in those latest frames. I worry to see what it will look like in a few more hours. It is strengthening, is all we can say. And the possibility that it will do what it was forecasted to do and become a Category 4 again over the Bahamas, that is a distinct possibility. Will it get stronger than that? I don't know, but I would hope not. Stephen tells us that the Hurricane Hunters are flying into Matthew on another recon mission. Do keep me up to date on that, because I don't have the sources in front of me, if possible. But it will be very interesting to see what recon find inside the storm during this hour, and that will be reflected on their coverage on us, on their update that the National Hurricane Center will be doing in an hour and a half. Not much else for myself and Lee to say right now, as we are in our, what is it, 48th hour of
48 and a half hours, yeah.
48th hour of streaming the live stream on Matthew. We're still here, and I hope we're doing well in providing the coverage, and we hope you stay with us throughout the evening, and we'll continue to give you any updates that we come across right now.
And Nathan, just to let you know that the view count is nearly up, so up higher than
yeah, indeed. So, well, you know, as long as we're helping people is the main focus.
The main thing,
You know, as long as people want us to stay on the air, we'll stay right here. And this could be a storm that rolls on and on and on. You'll get fed up of hearing about it over the coming days, because it will be days until this storm becomes no longer a threat. Because if it does what it says and that looping thing happens, we could still be talking about Matthew next week.
Yeah. Well, I think the possibility of it doing a loop is very possible, I would say.
A half chance right now, it would seem.
Still half a chance to now, though. But right now, we
quite
just
literally
need to
50%.
concentrate on the now and keep everything safe, keep everything up to date. And everyone, please keep your questions coming. And
oh, I'm sure they will.
Answer them. Yeah. I'm just saying that, Nathan, just to...
Yes, okay, let's see. Fairly Cope says, are you all meteorologists, and what schools did you attend? None of your business. Nah, we never proclaim to be meteorologists. We're not necessarily, but we are very knowledgeable and experienced after tracking these storms for years, and I hope that shows. We know when a storm looks like it's intensifying. We know what the situations are. We are, but primarily we are broadcasters, and that's the bottom line. And we are broadcasting this to you. We're showing you what the storm is doing, where it's going, what we expect will happen, a little bit of opinion here and there, and obviously the crucial help, the advice. And I believe Craig has joined us.
I have indeed. I have joined you.
Welcome.
Welcome to the event.
First one with my 16-year-old self.
That's right. Happy birthday, Craig.
Yes, we wish Craig a happy birthday last night during the stream when it happened, and
yes, I found out.
But onto it, Matthew. What's your thoughts, Craig?
Well, I am not surprised at all of him re-intensifying. I'll be surprised if he's not a Cat 4 again.
Me too.
Surprised at that. He's certainly playing the part of a Cat 4. I'll be surprised because there is recon supposedly heading towards him, so I'll be waiting to find out what they find. I'm not sure whether they're both low level or not, but I know it's the NOAA P3 and the NOAA P49 plane that are going into Matthew at this precise moment. I think they've just left Florida. Let's just have a look at this.
So where did they take off from?
Yeah, they took off from Tampa.
Oh right, interesting.
So
they should be there in about what, an hour or less? So. Craig? Do you think they'll be there in about an hour?
Well, they are off of Florida now, so and they're coming towards Florida, the biggest island of the Bahamas. So I think they'll be there in at least maybe an hour or so.
Yeah,
maybe a lot less. But the NOAA 3 plane is a low-level reconnaissance, so there's where you're probably wanting to pay attention to. Whereas the NOAA P49 is a upper level, so that's sort of one you don't really pay so much attention to, but you want to really pay attention to what the lower level winds are saying with the NOAA P3 plane. But the NOAA P3 plane, which is the NOAA 3 mission, which is only the fourth one. I was expecting to have done a lot more by now, but they're heading toward the biggest island on the Bahamas, just approaching it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they find. I'll be staggered if it isn't producing Cat 4 forced winds.
China says it looks like Matthew is flaring up and strengthening really fast. Is there a chance he'll get up to Category 5 and make landfall? There's a chance of almost anything. I don't want to suggest that, but anything's a possibility. It's happened in the past, it can happen again in the future, but at the moment it's not a Category 5 by any stretch of the imagination, but it could be pushing Category 4 right now.
I'll be surprised if it isn't a Cat 4. I'll be surprised if it isn't.
I think they'd go with 125.
I think it will go up to a Cat 4 later tonight, I think.
Oh, it probably will.
The 11 PM advisory, I think you'll see Cat 4.
That's probably where you'll see it. We'll
have to see, but I think that's what will happen.
130 miles an hour.
I think the next advisory
presentation, it's certainly something to behold. This is certainly something that's back to life after you look at it when it made landfall in Cuba and Haiti. When Matthew was starting to look very, very sorry for himself. He was looking rather disrupted, heavily damaged due to land interaction, but it shows you how quick that Matthew could bounce back from it and be very resilient.
I want to go through some comments, Craig. Chris says, I truly believe people are overestimating this storm. It's a joke. Well, that's what I thought at first when the hurricane warnings were first issued, but as time went on, I sort of, it became more apparent that it was not... I mean, I don't know what's going on over there, but when you're talking about South Carolina evacuating 1 million people already, I think that part of it is a bit soon. But for Florida, it is a significant threat, and hurricane force winds are almost guaranteed for the eastern coast now. Tropical storm force winds, I say, are guaranteed for the east coast of Florida. But if you find any people or media outlets saying that this storm is going to make landfall as a Category 3, 4, 5, that's a little bit crazy, and they have absolutely they cannot qualify that yet at all, because the storm could still miss by at least 100 miles, and that makes a whole lot of difference. But people are taking the preparedness measures, and the storm could make landfall at a high intensity, but it's just as likely not to. After that, almost rat, let's see what else we've got. Not much, so Craig, go ahead if you wanted to continue.
Well, not really much to continue apart from that. Matthew is one of them ones where you'd think he'd be feeling, well, going into a sorry state like he did this morning. I thought he'd been continuing that, but realizing that he didn't hit the mountains of Cuba nor Haiti, knowing that as soon as he got back out, as soon as he seen the eye sort of maintain itself, but still remain very, very clouded, but still maintain itself whilst over land, and then seen it trying to immediately try and clear out, you started to think that Matthew's starting to commit a comeback here. But if anyone's, but just to clarify, I mean, I'm not gonna say that it could become a Cat 5 again. It's a possibility at this time, but then again, this is what's wrong with Matthew. He is not your average Atlantic hurricane, which is somewhat predictable, whereas this one just really isn't. This one has been a nightmare for any former meteorologist or any amateurs. Well, not really amateurs, but you get what I mean. If anyone's first starting with this storm, this is probably a massive mind boggler.
Okay. Cactus Boy says, is it going to be exactly like Hurricane Andrew? Well, no.
No, definitely
it's not going to.
If it's going to be like that,
Andrew,
I'm going to be concerned. But I can definitely tell you it's not.
Well, if we talk about potential, it's not a wise move to compare the storm to another storm. It's a very human thing to do, but this storm really has no comparison. Not because it's particularly bad or anything, but just that no storms have taken on Matthew's track, not least at this time of year. So it's a very unique situation that we're in. So it could, if we're talking about whether damages will be as high as Hurricane Andrew, then quite possibly, just because this storm's bigger. But it's not to say it could be worse. It will. Well, in some places, because Andrew was really small but caused an extreme amount of damage in the small areas that the worst winds were. But this storm is a bit bigger, so and less strong, so it will have more damage, but over a higher amount of area of damage, but less intense damage near the centre.
Yeah, because the winds have got enough time to distribute and get far out from the centre and start to dissipate or start to weaken, so the damage won't be as significant. But around the centre, that's where obviously you're going to start. You'll expect to see the worst of it, so the worst of it's still around the centre of Matthew, regardless.
And the northern side of the storm is continuing to flare up, as you can see, and I want to try and get some, see if there's a new image of that now, and there might be. I have to wait a few moments.
I don't know whether Ram's got one, probably has.
In fact, yes, a new image has come out, and This will show you that that eye has not disappeared. Well, I thought there was a new one, but it doesn't appear to have displayed on the screen. But even so, you could see that the eye is not going away.
It's both, well,
There we go.
18Z apparently, well, it's on RAM anyways, behind, seeing as how it only had Matthew going down to 115 at 12Z.
Yeah, ignore all that. But you're looking at the latest frame on
the only thing you can really
infrared
use RAM
imaging.
for whilst tracking a hurricane is the imagery. But tracking a cyclone or typhoons, you can use RAM, but using ATCF during a hurricane, it's alright depending on if it's nowhere near land. But if you got recons, then you can use the NHC and their information from the planes. But as far as I know, the recons are not there just yet. They won't be far away. Just have another check of them.
And there's the wider view right now of all the activity. Matthew over there, Nicole, and some tropical disturbance activity down in the central Atlantic and heading near the Caribbean. What do you think of Nicole right now?
It's doing not too bad.
And a lot of people have the misconception that Nicole is controlling Matthew, but it's the other way around.
Definitely
Isn't it?
not. It's the other way around. Matthew's controlling Nicole.
And in turn, Matthew's being controlled by that trough that's moving out to sea way up to the north over there near the Carolinas. And soon
And
high
also the
pressure
big
will
high.
force it down. And that is what is appearing to be telling the models that it's going to turn back around when it gets up there.
But it's very possible. That
It's a
the high
50-50
pressure
chance,
will-
it seems.
Yeah, it's very possible, Nathan, that it'll make it go south again and possibly at Florida for a second time. So, we'll wait and see. It's still a bit uncertain at the moment.
Well, I don't know whether you've already reiterated the warnings, Nathan. But
Oh, go
if you
ahead.
have,
It's been a little
in a
while.
while, I'll just quickly do it just now. Tropical storm warnings remain in effect for the whole of Haiti. No warnings or watches are in effect for Dominican Republic. Hurricane warnings and hurricane watches remain in effect for eastern Cuba and central Cuba with the hurricane watches. Hurricane warnings in effect for eastern Cuba. Most of the Bahamas now, only except the one island now, is not under warning, but the rest are under hurricane warnings, and really no surprise there. Florida also has some warnings and watches. One hurricane watch, which is on the border with Georgia and Florida, and hurricane warnings further south in Florida on the eastern coast of Florida. And there's also tropical storm warnings for the Florida Keys area. To be honest, and then obviously looking at the forecast that Matthew's closest approach to Florida is at 8 a.m. Friday, and that's where the approach from now is going to be very, very crucial to see what he does, whether he makes landfall on Florida or not. To be honest, that's another thing where we can't say because it's too early to tell. Yes, you'd be starting to think, hang on, how can't we make an accurate prediction at this time? Well, if you looked at his previous track, he's been that erratic in movement and forward speed, we just don't know. We honestly just do not know. And that's the warnings.
Cactus Boy wants to know, how wide is the eye?
Ooh. Well, the eye's probably about a decent size.
You don't want to
Especially for
use a
hurricane.
number.
Especially at a hurricane of Matthew's size, it's probably about.
I can tell you the eye's 25 nautical miles wide.
I was going to say 20, but I'm not far off.
We're joined by someone else. Is that Tropical Storm Nuke? It is joining us from Orlando, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if he's able to speak to us or not.
I don't know.
But he's over there somewhere. And we'll be joined by many other people throughout our coverage this afternoon and evening as we get on towards 4 o'clock on the East Coast. And National Hurricane Centre will update again at 5. And we'll be here with live coverage until midnight.
So then, we're still here.
We are.
Yes.
Are you able to screen share at all, Craig?
What would you like me to screen share?
I just want to show everyone the latest from the National Hurricane Centre, you know, the warning map and all that again.
Alright, okie dokie. That will be made very apparent, and in about a couple of seconds' time, or in about 15 seconds.
There it is.
Yep. You can see the full scale of the warnings.
It's one of the weirdest cones, isn't it?
No.
What's your opinion on this potential loop, Craig?
Oh, hello. My desktop. Well, looking at him, the potential turns and chances for Matthew doing a loop. It's I don't know whether it'll happen. It might. As I said, I mean, even I'm not too sure whether it will occur.
Who is?
Well, I'm gonna turn around and say a very accurate no.
You think it won't?
Then, well, I'd rather have a good look, stare at the models, but then again, I've only just really come back from playing football, man. I've known that Matthew over the last couple of hours has improved, and obviously to this stage, but the chances of a loop, I'd give it at least a 40 to 50% chance, if the forecast cone and the trough that starts to really affect Matthew, then you could probably see that chance of a loop increase. Not drastically.
Have you seen the models though? They're really. It's a 50-50 split now. Some of them take the storm out to sea beyond the Outer Banks, and North Carolina will get something, or a loop and taking it back into Florida by mid next week, beginning of next week.
Good lord.
It's crazy.
Very
crazy stuff.
Just like the hurricane.
But you know, we're concentrating on what's going on right now. But there's not
Right
too much
off
to
of the
say.
plane.
We know that part of the Bahamas has lost power, according to David, who was here earlier in the hour, and we still don't know much from Cuba and Haiti. Only that it's bad.
Well, according to death tolls, that sadly, that death toll has now sadly gone up to 10, and we're going to have to really realise
It's more
that
than
this
that, I
death
think.
toll could now rise and continue rising.
I think it's more than that now, by the way.
I think it'll be more than 10 now, but the last I knew it would be 10. It was 10.
Okay.
I'll just go have a quick check just to see if that's still the same or it's changed.
I don't know whether Nuke's there in the background. Hello?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, hi.
Oh.
And you're in Orlando, aren't you?
Yep.
Do you want to let everyone know what the latest is over there?
Well, I went to school today, obviously, and around 11 o'clock, everyone's phones just went off because government alerts are actually set up to where hurricane warnings pop up on your phones. So, of course, everyone's phones started going off, and people have been really concerned about this. They've asked to board up the rooms, the windows, the doors. They've asked to shut down all computers. Pretty much a full lockdown of the school.
Do you think people are overreacting?
Personally, no. I think they're trying to at least lower the amount of damage that this storm could possibly be doing.
And just to reiterate now that the death toll on Matthew has now gone up to 19.
19?
Yep, 19 fatalities.
Okay, well, that's not much of a surprise. And the storm continues on its way through the Bahamas, and up to 15 feet of storm surge could occur in the Bahamas, and it could be up to 5 feet for the eastern coast of Florida if it is at high tide.
On a high tide landfall, if there is one, or even if the storm does get near Florida, which it will, if it's high tide then, well, Florida's going to have some serious trouble if it is high tide when Matthew gets there. So I'd seriously take considerations and really keep an eye on this. I reckon.
Nuke, are you going to stay with us until the next hour?
Probably, yes.
Alright, well, we're going to take a break now as we reach the end of another hour of live coverage on Hurricane Matthew. We'll be back with more in the NHC update hour, because they'll be doing it at 5 o'clock. And we'll give you the latest when they publish their advisory. We'll be back after this. Stay tuned.